We have an interesting case with this one. A father of a teen who's accused of shooting up his high school is now on trial himself for giving the son the gun, despite years of warnings about the kid's anger and obsession with mass killers. Wow. Could those red flags have actually stopped this if they had been taken more seriously? This is Colin Gray. He's the dad that's accused of handing his 14-year-old son Colt the AR-15 style rifle used in the Apalachee High School shooting on September 4, 2024. Prosecutors are saying that he knew about Colt's anger problems and threats to hurt people, and yet he didn't do anything about it. His son even had a fascination with past school shootings for years, but the gun still ended up as a Christmas present in 2023. Colin has pleaded not guilty to 29 felony counts, including second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, cruelty to children, and reckless conduct. And his trial is set in Barrow County. It's kicked off on February 16, 2026. This is really an interesting case here where a parent is on trial for their son's murders of a school shooting. I've been a licensed professional counselor since 2007 and still grinding through full client days. Apparently, I'm in it for the long haul. That real-world experience, though, guides my breakdowns here on the clinical file. Keep in mind, this is all my speculations. It's never a formal diagnosis of anyone involved in this case. I'm not here to judge or hype, just to unpack the mental health layers and family dynamics in this case. All right, let's get to it. Another case, another clinical file. The testimony has kept piling on what prosecutors started recently, showing how those early emotional dysregulation signs kept growing without enough solid intervention to break the cycle. One of the first big red flags showed up around age 11 when Colt was searching online for ways to kill his father. That's not a normal kid curiosity. It often points to deep-seated anger, possible unresolved trauma, or early attachment wounds mixed with feelings of helplessness. When a preteen starts researching targeted harm against a parent, it's a major indicator that the emotional pain has been simmering a long time, and the window for trauma-informed support for secure attachment repair is narrow before those thoughts become more rigid. Schools and law enforcement got looped in multiple times after that. By 2023, the FBI was looking into tips about online threats to shoot up a school, which led to a talk where guns at home came up. Colin told them everything was locked down and Colt couldn't have free access. But then the rifle becomes a Christmas gift the next December. How do you go from those conversations to buying and giving a gun as a gift? Here, son, here's a gun. Although I know you have fascinations about school shootings. Not a well thought out gift. Psychologically, it's often a blend of hope, avoidance coping, and minimization, reframing earlier concerns as less serious or resolved to ease cognitive dissonance and keep the parent-child bond from feeling threatened. The behavior escalated as time went on. Colt showed intense anger directed at his father, panic attacks, and rapid emotional volatility. The family struggled during COVID with more time at home, likely worsening feelings of isolation, anxious attachment, and exposure to online content. Colt developed a fixation on school shooters, sending money to someone convicted in Parkland and keeping what has been described as a shrine in his bedroom related to that event. People have discussed that, but landed on, well, he's just joking. He's not really serious. That interpretation shows cognitive dissonance in action, recognizing enough emotional distress to talk about it, but not enough to alter daily routines or restrict access to lethal means. His dad did reach out for help eventually. A few weeks before the shooting, he did contact a counseling service, describing his son's anger, anxiety, and quick escalation to volatility after a couple of tough years. He scheduled an appointment for September 5th, the day after the attack. That step shows some insight into the need for professional intervention, but the ongoing firearm access and delayed timing suggests a pattern of partial awareness without full harm reduction measures. In family therapy, this gap is common. Acknowledging distress feels manageable, while protective actions that could feel like rejection or punishment trigger avoidance or guilt. Prosecutors say the rifle stayed in Colt's room even with all of those signs present. The defense argues Colt lived a double life. Affectionate texts to dad on one side, private planning and notes on the other. The compartmentalization and deception can erode parental attunement and lead to emotional exhaustion. Adolescents in significant internal conflict often mask symptoms to preserve autonomy or avoid perceived abandonment, complicating accurate risk assessment for caregivers. Testimony included a letter from Colt wrote to his father on the day of the shooting, asking for forgiveness. That blend of premeditation and apparent remorse aligns with patterns in some planned violence cases, where ambivalence or internal conflict precedes the act. It highlights the complex interplay of emotional dysregulation, possible dissociative elements, and unresolved attachment issues when the stress accumulate untreated. This case echoes the Oxford High School shooting in Michigan, where parents faced charges for allegedly overlooking signs of emotional dysregulation and allowing firearm access. Untreated psychological distress combined with lethal means created a similar tragic outcome there. The legal focus here stays on foreseeability when repeated external warnings are present but not fully acted upon. During monthly check-ins, Colin reportedly told a caseworker that his son was doing well in school and needed no counseling, despite prior outreach from authorities. This discrepancy often reflects denial or avoidance, a common defense mechanism when parents fear stigma, shame, or the implications of acknowledging deeper attachment wounds or trauma responses. Untreated anger, anxiety, and fixation on violent content can escalate when emotional regulation support remains inconsistent. If examining how minimization, cognitive dissonance, avoidance coping, and partial insight can allow risks to persist, gave you a clear sense of the psychological why behind these preventable escalations, I would love to keep bringing you these breakdowns. Subscribe if you want the next one to land in your feed. That way you'll have the next psychological context ready when another case breaks. It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it helps me keep making content that actually matters. The trial is expected to last 3 more weeks, with testimony continuing to reveal household patterns and points where different choices might have changed the trajectory. Colt Gray, Colin's son, now faces 55 charges, including murder counts, and has pleaded not guilty, with his trial date still pending. The behavioral indicators accumulated steadily, from early targeted ideation to shooter fixation to visible emotional volatility, yet responses remained limited until the outcome. Identifying rising risk in adolescents who mask it well is one of the most difficult challenges in adolescent mental health. Reported secrecy or manipulation can lead to caregiver fatigue, shifting toward hope-based coping over stricter boundaries. In hindsight, the convergence of documented threats, untreated emotional dysregulation, and unrestricted firearm access stands out as a preventable alignment. Understanding these contributing mechanisms helps explain how such outcomes develop without excusing them. The trial's focus provides a window into how denial, minimization, avoidance, and incomplete action can persist in families confronting significant psychological strain. What a tragic, tragic story here. We see cases like this time and time again of school shooters. It's usually a former student. And in this case, Colt was given this gun as a Christmas gift. And his dad very well knew of all the different risk associated with that. He knew Colt's fixation on school shootings. And he knew the anger and violence he had towards himself, but yet he gave this gun anyway. He knew that there was something going on because Colin contacted a counseling center for his son. But unfortunately, it was too late. So what did you think about this case? Were any of the mental health patterns or psychological dynamics particularly striking to you? And that closes this clinical file. Until next time, keep looking a little deeper. Stay curious, stay safe. And in the meantime, I'll be refreshing my video stats and blaming my attachment style when no one subscribes. Just joking. Bye.